morning to you and welcome to Daybreak Benue on Benue Television. We are glad indeed that you are there watching us live. We want to sincerely apologize for the late start of the program. It was due to circumstances beyond our control. And now that we have started, we will sustain the tempo to the end of the program. Well, today we are set to discuss something that is very new in the Nigerian system. Remember that the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, in his bold approach to administrative issues, has proposed the Federal Ministry of Livestock and the Ranches be before the National Assembly, and this has actually given birth to something that is very spectacular. Nigerians are happy indeed that a new ministry is here, and it's for the singular reason that we intend to take a look at this very closely, as we have invited very sound analysts to take care of the matter. My name is Japhet Kwaho.
Good morning, Daybreak family. Welcome to the Monday edition of the show. My name is Mario. I hope you had a restful weekend, and here we are again.
Here we are.
What we do.
Definitely.
Good morning, Japhet.
Well, we do not. Yes. Good morning, Maureen. I was carried away and I forgot exchanging pleasantries. First of all, we are behind schedule, so we may not go into talking about a whole lot of things. But just to touch briefly, we want to, let's start with a good one. The youth are being carried along even on this program. And remember that the young man Chima finally has made it to the grand finale of the Nigerian Idol.
That one is really good.
He's now officially the winner of that, Nigerian Idol season 9.
Yes.
Now moving away from that, let's talk about hashtag NSAS judgment. Just briefly, because yes,
in a historic ruling last week, on Friday, July 12th or 11th, the ECOWAS court did rule that Nigerian government did contravene articles of human rights and ordered, or let me say, ruled that Nigerian government should pay each of the NSAS victims 10 million naira
compensation.
Yeah, as compensation. Now, what I find, very noteworthy about this judgment is the fact that it was DJ Switch who through her live stream at the Lekki Tollgate while the NSAS movement was going on, who did institute this suit on December 21st, 2021. So this has been, 3 years, almost 3 years of, legal tussle. And funnily, or let me say ironically, DJ Switch, who ought to have been, protected, ended up leaving the country because there were threats to her life.
Yes.
And I find it commendable in the sense that when former Senator Shehu Sani did, at the Democracy Day dinner with the president and, high-level, high-ranking ministers, did appeal to President Tinubu to ensure that protesters who were held behind bars were released.
Yes, and one thing about Nigeria that we wanted to say categorically is we need to be transparent in our dealings. If people are in custody, they should be, Nigerians have the right to know that these are the people who are in custody. When you keep certain persons in custody and you don't want it, pronounced, it's against the law. And so we want to thank God for the life of DJ Switch, who was dogged enough to have fought that war. But let's remember that there were other heroes who silently fought this behind the scene. And all the NSAS crew, a change was actually made in the country Nigeria. And we are hoping that Nigerians, our leaders, will listen to the sound, the loud voice, and make amends when it comes to keeping peace, because it's part of the reasons we are one as a country. Well, we do not have much time. We would have gone ahead to talk to you about what's happening in the United States of America, where there is a political battle, between the Republicans and, of course, the Democrats. And Donald Trump seems to have suffered a lot. But let's hope that everything is going to come out the way it should be democratically. That's all we'll be talking about. That in our subsequent edition, we shall bring you full details of what is happening in the United States of America. Let's go on a break very quickly. We will return with our guest in the house to begin our interactive session. Don't go away.
Benue Fashion Show Season 3 is here.
It's that time of the year for fashion designers, entrepreneurs, and fashion enthusiasts to shine.
This year, sale of forms for the competition begins from 15th April to 19th July 2024.
Pick a form at Benue Television, located at Special Duties Wing, Government House, Makudi. Form costs 5,000 naira only.
Stage 1 screening begins on the 6th of July 2024. Great prizes await you.
The first prize, 1 million naira. Second prize, 500,000 naira. And third prize, 300,000 naira. All prizes are inclusive of cash and fashion tools. Also, consolation prizes and gift items.
For sponsorship, partnership and inquiries, please call Benue TV Marketing on 0906 188 9838 or 0703 794 5569. Benue Fashion Show, embracing fusion fashion.
Welcome back to the studios of Benue Television. This is Daybreak Benue, and we are here to talk to you about issues in Nigeria. And the most recent is the issue of the ministry that has to do with ranches, development, and all of that. In Nigeria, we have been battling over the years with the issue of farmers' headers clashes, and Nigerians have been going round to see if there is going to be a solution to this problem. This is the same problem that has taken several lives. People have died on their farms, people have lost their ancestral homes, and a lot has happened. Cattle rustling too has taken place in Nigeria in different places. And so in his wisdom, the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has come up with a new strategy, coming up with a ministry that is going to take care of this area. How well this is going to be done is what we do not know. And how this is going to be checkmated is another issue. How there are going to be checks and balances on the new ministry is another whole ballgame. And so we have analysts in the House who have been following all of these developments and would want to lend their voice this morning on Daybreak Benue. I'd like to say first, let's welcome one who is an advocate of good governance in Benue and Nigeria, and of course a public affairs analyst, talking about Sam Agua. I'd like to welcome you to the studios of Benue Television.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
You're welcome. And so we'd also like to welcome immediate past secretary of the NBA Makudi branch. I'm talking about Barrister Joseph Bagyo, who is also a public affairs analyst and a Benue Television ambassador. I'd like to welcome you to the studios of Benue Television.
Thank you very much.
You both look quite ready for the discussion here this morning, and
you invited us.
Yeah, of course. I see that we will make significant effort in trying to unravel what this portends to Nigeria. How does the news of the establishment of the new ministry that is going to take care of the issues around livestock development and farmers' headers clashes and all of that? I know as a Nigerian, this has been one of the most hydra-headed problems that we have faced in recent times. Let's begin with you, distinguished Sam. What do you think about this new development? What are your thoughts exactly?
Well, the development is a bit mixed to me. Mixed in the sense that, number one, traditionally, conventionally, a president has a right. They can sit and create ministry based on need, based on some exigency and stuff. Because remember, a ministry is different from a commission. Ministries usually don't enjoy going through acts of parliament. Anyway, I'm sorry, there's a lawyer here. He's talking wrongly, but then you see, and then the second side is why the ministry. So I've been interrogating the why. Because if you look at it from loose data, there are about 100 million poultry, that is birds, in Nigeria. There are about like 20 million cattle. Even sheep and goats are variously in some 40 million. So is it that it was weighted on the basis of okay, let's carve out a livestock out of agric, sit down, dwell on it, and try to make the best out of it? But again, do you need to create a ministry necessary to do that? You need something that looks like some regulation, or something that can, like the Nigerian Communications Commission, you need some certain things to do that. Because already, crop, what is called crop, the yam, the cassava, the blah, 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 even accounts significantly for over 70% substantially of agric in Nigeria. This livestock thing only just is by the side. So there is this mix to me. And again, another factor that has created some bit of confusion in my mind is the haste. Because there's a ministry, you ask for ministry, but there's something related to it, and there is a presidential steering committee on livestock, which technically we can argue that is like a board or a governing council or something. Top high brass technocrats on that team. So it's either the President Tinubu is prioritizing livestock to make it so big with heavy emphasis, because when they say part of the issue is to, even in your introductory notes, is to look at header farmer issues and that, you find it curious again, because a ministry is going to resolve header farmer crisis. How? When substantially, as we speak, this livestock, whatever it means, has been linked to so many things, negatively and positively. Like where I come from in Benue, the name livestock strikes off sometimes love, sometimes hatred, sometimes anger, a whole lot mixed, because the cattle and the crop there have been these issues and that. So it's a mix to me, even though I admit the president has a right to do that, but I'm still wondering why it's not some commission, or why a particular department was not strengthened in the Ministry of Agri to drive this. Finally, if you look at Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, actually and sincerely to him, not much of livestock is there. Much is around crop stuff. So maybe an afterthought or whatever. So it's still a mix to me. I'm talking too much.
No, you're not talking too much. Barrister Bajo, you know that this is a matter we have heard, we've had programs on this issue for a number of times we cannot count here. I would want you to, in all sincerity, do you think Nigerians need this at the moment, or something else would have been done?
Well, just to also align with Mr. Sam Akwa, it's also mixed to me, and I've also been interrogating whether or not we need a ministry to solve farmer header issues. However, farmer headers issue is not the only issue. We're looking at livestock development generally, and they're looking at a projected market, a projected industry as far as animal husbandry is concerned, you know. So, but you want to perhaps understand whether we need a ministry to solve this issue. Well, I would have said And perhaps, let me take it from the angle of the paramount duty of government. And I always talk about the fundamental objective and direct principles of state policies. And if you look at section 14, I like to always start from there because that is where the social contract between the people and the government lies. And here is a government that is concerned about the security of the people. And perhaps I've identified farmer headers as one of the worrying issues disturbing the economic growth of the nation as far as agri is concerned. But here, we already have a Ministry of Agri. And this Ministry of Agri takes care of issues of livestock, takes care of issues of crops. You know, so why now create a different ministry? Why don't you strengthen the Ministry of Agri to have the capacity to drive this new ministry?
Do you think it's a policy somersault?
Yeah, and in a country where we are trying to cut costs, already we have 48 ministers, and maybe we'll have additional 2. That is 50 ministers, and already the same president is talking about implementing the Orosayes report, you know, which talks about cutting costs and all of that. So that's where the mixed reactions lie.
So it does contradict the president's position anyhow.
Exactly. But however, let us not shy away from maybe global best practice. Because if you look at what the Food and Agriculture Organization is saying, as far as which is a UN agency driving agriculture globally, so they are saying, well, if this has worked in other countries, like, because I know the Ministry of Livestock in Senegal, you know, is working, and so maybe those could be the reason. And just like Mr. Sam said, perhaps maybe the government of the day under President Ahmed Bola Tinubu now wants to prioritize animal husbandry to build that industry, which is similar to what we are seeing in the entertainment industry today. But however, we wait to see. He is the chair of that task force, and then we'll see who comes in to chair that ministry. But of course, we'll watch and see how the technocrats, and particularly Professor Tahiru Jega, who is co-chairing the livestock reformation committee.
Why didn't you mention Ganduje? Because it's another. Why pick out Jega?
That's the biggest boy.
That's the biggest. That's the biggest icon.
And when you say biggest, in terms of
intellect, in terms of integrity, in terms of capacity, and all of that. So that's why we.
So in essence, you are affirming that the president is right in the choice of the members of that.
To a very large extent.
That's right.
Okay. Now, distinguished Samaga, let me throw this question to you. You did mention something about 20 million cattle, and truly, if you go online, you see that.
It's a loose guess.
Yeah, no, but
don't use it.
No, but statistically, Nigeria is the 6th country with the highest number of cattle, which is in about 20.7 million. Statistics.
Oh, I was even correct.
Yeah, you are correct. So statistics have actually proved you right. And then the production of beef in Nigeria is about 324.6 metric tons of beef. That is what Nigeria produces, and that has made Nigeria to be the 6th largest producer of beef. Now, having reeled out these figures for you, do you actually think that, just in line with what Bryce Tabagio said about, President Tinubu trying to have, like, a more streamlined and specialized area of as animal husbandry, which is what has necessitated this ministry, do you actually think that this policy is in the right direction? Because whether we like it or not, this same administration has said cost of governance is key, and is looking forward, or let me say, it has actually, given the go-ahead that the Orosange report should be implemented. So don't you think that this goes against what he's actually talking about in terms of cost of governance? Yes, animal husbandry needs to be professionalized in the country, because if you look at how meat and general, meat and poultry products are produced, it is not really done in best practices. So do you think that having this ministry is actually germane at this point right now?
Well, let me correct something. Cutting cost of governance doesn't mean you cannot create more if it becomes relevant. So that fact must be established. It's not in the numbers, it's in the appropriateness or in the relevance. Personally, I don't buy the entire idea of a livestock ministry as a person, because I believe it's not necessary. It's not necessary in the sense that, will you go ahead now and create a ministry for cassava simply because you want to prioritize cassava production or ethanol production or gari, or you go and create a crop ministry or a farming ministry or a sheep ministry or that? If you look at the Nollywood today, do you go and break it down, maybe create a ministry of film acting simply because it's a hot cake, or you go and create a ministry of AI or cryptocurrency from or music or social? So you see, to me, with due respect, it looks to me like the presidency might have been stampeded into creating that. Relevant as livestock is to development of Nigeria, the fact that hundreds of thousands of jobs are possible from there, you don't need that layer of bureaucracy. Again, recall there have been lots of discussions around this livestock issue, but the discussions erring from the standpoint that will necessitate a big bureaucracy in place. Is what is key is how best can we drive livestock, because recall we have all gone what people call PPP, or the world is tending towards government and private sector working to get things moving. So a casual commission, I just use the word casual, some commission would have been there to check the abattoir, to check the grazing, to check the rank, to check some basic thing without necessarily having a big ministry. And if you look at the emphasis the government is putting to it, which is not wrong, but suddenly the issue of livestock has become so hot that top brass technocrats constitute. Do you know that the minister of the Ministry of Livestock is just a secretary on the steering committee? It means Tinubu means business. That is why I'm holding back than saying, no, this is nonsense, this is that. We have already passed that point. But it's not relevant to create a ministry to do livestock in Nigeria. No. All we needed to do was to build an ecosystem where all the actors or stakeholders in livestock industry can play and have that commonality in ensuring that the agribusiness side of it, the president wants to promote, is encouraged. Okay. Ministry to do what?
Yeah, Mr. Agbo, you have really made your point here, but I'd like Barrister Bagel to chip in, because he did mention the Food and Agricultural Organization, and if you go through, or let me say, from the little that I have seen, there's a World Organization for Animal Health as well, which has outlined 5 freedoms, which, as funny as it may sound, is actually something that they adhered to since 1979. Now, in spite of that, don't you think that having this ministry is looking like President Tinubu wants to appease a certain part of the country? I am making reference to a statement made by Senator Adamu Aleri of Kebbi Central, who did say that cows, or let me say cattle, should be accorded citizens' rights in Nigeria, which drew a lot of furor from a lot of people, because we are talking of cows, which are animals. It's a different thing to say that cows, or let me say animals, should have their rights, brought up or specifically, adhered to in the country, but to afford, or I beg your pardon, to accord them citizens' rights. Don't you think that the president is trying to appease a certain part of the country based on that statement? What do you think?
Well, for me, I don't subscribe to those kind of armchair theories or armchair statements by perhaps maybe unpatriotic citizens of the country. I always like dealing with the issues, and if you look at this issue of farmer headers, it has been with us for over a decade now, and I always like being practical. I have worked around farmer headers issues for a very long time now, and I serve as a legal advisor on the project Transforming Farmer Headers and Promoting Freedom of Religions from 2018 to 2020, which is a project implemented by Search for Common Ground with funding from the UN, and at the close of that project, we had regional meetings in Plateau, in Nasarawa, and in Benue, and we interacted so much with the headers, not even the headers from the urban communities. We interacted with urbans from rural communities, and part of the concerns they raised is that, look, we don't have this ranching you talk about, it's not as if we don't want to practice it, but it is highly scientific. It is something that's it's very, very technical. So can you put us through this? So, and let's also not forget, because of all of this, animal husbandry or livestock in Nigeria generally has not really been 60% prioritized, and because of that, we are avoiding issues. We are avoiding very serious issues, and those are the things I'm now watching out to see how the new ministry will take up and how it will deal with these issues. Because if you go to countries like Mauritania, if you go to countries like Burkina Faso, if you go to countries like Senegal, these are, and Mali, these are countries that are within the West African region. And if you look at all these countries, where we started enjoying rainfall as early as March, sometime, or April, as the case may be, most of these countries are yet to even experience their second or third rainfall. So there is a problem of pasture. So the only place that is okay for them is the sub-Saharan, which is Nigeria, So there is high influx of headers into this region, and perhaps there is no proper structure to deal with it. So we hope that the new ministry will come in and deal with this issue. So that is one aspect. So it is not about coming out to say that yes, prioritize cattle by making them citizens. It's wrong. We're dealing with very serious issues here. I've done a research for United Nations Office on the West Africa and the Sahel, and we discovered very serious issues. The whole of the Sahelian region, the whole of Lake Chad is drying up, and nobody seems to be talking about it. Look at our own river Benue here. Once it's January to March, the river gets dried up, and all of that. These are very serious. So we are dealing with very serious climate issues, and pest control is another thing. Animal public health. These are very serious issues that we are hoping, and these are issues that should bother people, not the issue of saying because by custom, by our tradition, we are animal rearer, and as such our animals should be given. No, that's not the issues that we are concerned about. So yes, issues of farmer headers is there, but the question we are asking is it farmer headers that is the only issue bordering this region, particularly the Middle Belt region or the North Central region, particularly, and some few part of the Southwest and Southeast? What are the banditry issues? What are kidnapping issues? And all these issues. So we should, I hope, the president is not trying to treat the symptoms and leaving the main primary cause of the sickness. If security, if the entire security of the country is not prioritized, as I speak to you today, the people of Gwe West people, if you go to places like Angola, sorry, I'm maybe talking too much. Yeah. The places like Angola, the places like the Fadama areas in Gwe West that were uninhabited, people are gradually beginning to return back to their home. Why? Because they have seen improvement in security, and they now feel that they are safe going back to farm their ancestral land. I think that is what the president ought to have prioritized, and not a kind of saying, okay, we'll create another ministry and provide budgetary provisions, and at the end of the day, issues of security will be neglected, and some people will wake up to say that other people don't like them because they are into this tradition of agri practice and all of that.
Distinguished Abog, I saw you nodding your head.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
That's not the issue.
Yes.
The issue we should prioritize here, the president and all the governors should prioritize, is the issue of security. Once that is solved, 90% of the problem will be solved. Secondly, let us not overlook the issue of climate change. Yes, some people may accuse some section of people or ethnic group of people of attempting to grab land, do this and do that. But what is the underlying factor? Inadequacy in pasture and water supply.
It's all right. Now, gentlemen, let's face the issues that are actually in front of us. Most of the times, Nigerians are very good at paper framework. Great technocrats, just like you have said, have been lined up to take care of this. The expectation is that there is going to be a riot act at the end of the day. But let's look at the implementation aspect. We have the Nigerian police in the land. We have the military saddled with the responsibility of protecting the territorial integrity of our country. We have other sister security agencies that are in their numbers to take care of the wealth, to ensure there is orderliness in the country. And yet we have had insecurity at different levels in this country. The issue of farmer header is just one of the many issues that we are taking a look at. The sincere question is, do we think at the end of the day this ministry would succeed in even addressing the issues of livestock farmer headers in the country? Do we have that glimpse of hope? Let's take it from you first.
Lee, ab initio, everything around the ministry doesn't seem to be getting well to me. E.g., we are talking about, recall the present administration came out with a policy on Pulaku. Yes. What is like a metamorphosis, maybe a synonym of Ruga or a synonym of something, a cattle colony or so. Now, a committee of governors was constituted. I think it cut across Nigeria. Yes. Whether they gave it some regional basis, I wouldn't know. To drive the Pulaku. We have not, because we depend on you in the media to hear. Yes. We've not heard anything on the Pulaku. The next we heard is a cattle, a livestock. Sorry, even if I call it a cattle ministry, just permit me. I'm not very sound at it. So the cattle ministry that has come up, is this stemming from the Pulaku? Now you have a steering committee, and the steering committee composition in itself, that is one of the most biggest committees in Nigeria. Yeah, no, well, I wouldn't say questionable, but it is flawed. A situation where much of Nigeria is not reflected on that committee, and a situation where you have immediately, right from the start, recognized that 70% membership of this committee should be people from a certain area, means that at the start, people like me have started suspecting that no, this may not really be a national project. It may be a project that wants to create wealth for some persons, though important, that will not benefit everyone. For instance, I expect, and this is without any sentiments, a state like Benue, though we may not be a high livestock state, we've had encounter with livestock that have not been funny. Yeah. I expect at the level of somebody like the governor of Benue State having a nomination, having a strong representation in the steering committee. But however, like I said, the presidency has a right.
Somebody from Benue has
no, I'm coming. It's not from Benue. It's a person from the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. On request, the person has spoken.
But not
I've read the person. He responded to something in a group I belong. The minister or whoever sent a letter to the SGF asking for a nomination. So technically, I wouldn't want to make it look political, but what I'm saying is the fact that I am Benue does not mean if I go sit somewhere on invitation of the office of Ministry of Lands, I'm representing Benue necessarily. That's one. Number two, I expect as much as possible 36 state governors involvement. I was singling Benue, but let me put it so that it doesn't look so funny, because we are looking at a sector that is we are prioritizing the sector. We are prioritizing what we require ranching, what we require building of laboratories, centers, lots of farmland, pasture. A lot is going to happen. So do we take it that the intention ab initio is this is not really a national project? Maybe we are trying to address something that looks like the Niger Development Commission, but that one was a commission, so let me know. Maybe, okay, because this problem is affecting the North, let's try to address it by doing that. Because 14 out of 20-something, 23 or thereabout members of that are people that are traditionally known for that. One may pass it that, give it to people that are involved in the sector. That's correct. But where I think the president needs to rethink, because we have reached a point that we cannot even scatter the ministry. I can only scatter with my words, but it will not be scattered on the ground because the president has spoken. I expect that the steering committee be rejigged. Because currently, if you look at that, I'm talking as an analyst from my personal observation, it looks as if a particular set of people can sit and form a quorum, and then the other people that seem to come from other places, even from places like Benue. So my point is, let the president create impression that this is a national project. Let federal character be reflected, because it's a committee. You know, if we have not been having headers attacks on communities, people may not suspect anything that is happening. So there has been lots of ageness. Nigerians are not very steady once issues of livestock are mentioned. So it will not necessarily address, because fundamentally there's even no conflict per se in the, I may use a wrong word, header. It's more like, in the last close to 10 years, some banditry aspects have come in that has overwhelmed the initial, because right now it's not even about a cow has eaten somebody's crop necessarily. You just wake up and something happens to you. It's been trending like that. But generally, quite fairly, let the president rejig it. Let's see how people can come on this steering committee membership to find a Ganduje, a very senior Nigerian, and then co-chairing with another powerful Nigerian, and the secretary being a minister. The president, please, President Tinubu, look at this thing again. Try to make people calm down fears of people like Samagwa by allowing a bit of a bigger committee. Though it's your right, but I'm appealing.
It's all right. Now, what I want us to do at the moment, gentlemen, is what recommendations do you have for the committee?
Well,
you should have recommendations. What do you expect the committee to come up with at the end of the day?
Okay.
But if you want to react to what
yes, I just want to react quickly before I go into that. Just for a few minutes. I also expected the president to have done things differently. There is a presidential committee, and this recommendation to create a ministry is a fallout of the conference on livestock in the north. Now, like for instance, when we had the issue from 2005, from early 2000, when the issue of HIV was very, very strong. From 2000, and the then President Olusegun Obasanjo, was figuring out the issues and how to resolve it. Set up a presidential committee on AIDS, and that committee worked assiduously and came up with recommendations that said, no, for us to properly deal with the issue of HIV/AIDS, we cannot solve the problem via a presidential committee or a task force.
Exactly.
So let us establish an agency for this.
NACA.
And that led to the National Agency for the Control of AIDS Establishment Act of 2003, which was later amended. So that agency was able to galvanize and take care of issues of HIV and AIDS. And today, we have recorded low number of HIV transmission. That issue has been brought to the barest minimum, because it was a more or less, in quote, a serious health issue that was bothering the country. And here is another issue relating to farmer headers.
It's a serious one.
Yes, and why the conference held, the recommendations were made, and there is already a proposed bill in the National Assembly. That bill is yet to go through a full legislative process, and that bill equally recommended or is recommending or proposing the establishment of a commission. That has also not ended, or that has also not seen the light of the day. And the president has gone ahead perhaps to implement the recommendations of the committee and create a ministry of livestock. That has been done. Committee's member have been appointed. What we expect the committee to do is to do things differently and to do things in line with the wishes of Nigeria.
So what are your recommendations?
Recommendations is that they should prioritize issue of security as it relates to farmer headers conflict as the basic cause of conflict. They should prioritize the issue of climate change within the region, which is causing shortage of pasture. Right? They should deepen their awareness and sensitization on their policies and how they intend to deal with it, and operate an open governance system to that effect for Nigerians to be able to assess. And above all, adopt an effective collaborative approach that will be globally, regionally, and nationally and locally inclusive. And above all, the issue should not be masculine, because that is the mentality we have in Nigeria. So
masculinity.
Yes.
Yeah.
As they are dealing with the issues, they should also understand that there are people at the receiving end who has been badly affected by this conflict, and that is women and children. That should not be neglected. The priority should not just be on animal. The priority should be a holistic approach that we governize animal husbandry. In this case, not just cattle, but piggery inclusive, goat inclusive, sheep inclusive, and all forms of animals, so that Nigerians will not see it as being just a biased ministry to favor some ethnic groups.
It's all right. Now, if you take a look at it, there is something we are leaving out here completely. We're talking about what the ministry portends for the Nigerian people. We have not started looking at the issues of ranching in close terms.
Well, those are the things. Those are the things.
Let's take it this way. Let's take a look at countries that have come into the biggest inventory of livestock development.
Most of them don't have ministries.
Good.
In fact, 80% of them don't have ministries.
Account for
Yeah.
the largest production of milk, and it's from the cow. There is no ministry that is dedicated to livestock, and they are doing it with all sincerity. India has the biggest inventory in terms of livestock ranching, followed by China and Brazil. Now, when you take a look at all of these countries that we have mentioned, there is no even special attention that is given to the issue of having a whole ministry dedicated to livestock development. Now, the question I really want to ask us is the problem of Nigeria in terms of what we are discussing here anchored on the absence of a ministry? Why have we refused to embrace ranching all this while?
No,
there has been a fight.
The president believes creating a ministry will solve many problems. Remember, if you read the grammar, they are not just talking about the crisis.
Yeah.
They are also talking about lots of billions of dollars that we can pull out doing this.
Like
and the question is whether in reality you need a ministry to create billions of dollars. You see, when we think along bureaucratic lines, core structural lines, we always run into trouble. Like Barrister mentioned, President Tinubu actually jumped the gun. He would have just simply allowed the Presidential Steering Committee to work and evolve and create a ministry of that. I think he secured it as a way of, sorry for my word, intimidating the committee or rather resolving an issue. Because let this thing just be ahead.
Yeah,
while every other thing.
I posed that angle that
Yes.
you think he was trying to cater to a certain segment of the country.
That may not be exactly, but he's tending so. I am more even keen picking what he talked about, open governance. I expect, because time is not funny on us, I expect the steering committee to draw inputs from the states. The states needs to convene town halls and come up with position. Let's not just take it that committee, because as I speak to you, this is a sensational matter. I, as a crop farmer, I have my feelings, I have my qualms that, hey, no.
You mean in terms of land, which will have to be seeded out?
Likely. What is the process? Are they going to, okay, supposing the bill Barrister mentioned also scared through for whatever reason, and a commission is created, means the commission will have the ministry like his father. Why you report to the ministry, the minister directs what the commissioner, or maybe things like that. It's a whole complex. So the committee, in my mind, apart from trying to make us feel that livestock, after all, it's called livestock, meaning poultry, meaning everything, apart from giving us that feel, let's have re-subnational inputs to that. I'm going back to my point. This committee, President Tinubu cannot set up a livestock committee despite his right to do what he wants and not factor the sensitivity of. I expect even in Bayelsa State, in Rivers State, anywhere, in Benue, in everybody, let's have, except if the committee will come and create some more layers, because the inputs the committee will get from farmers like us and other stakeholders may either really shock them or help them to make necessary adjustment. Because as it stands now, I'm just seeing an array, a parade of very intimidating personalities, meaning that Mr. President is saying, this is no joke. I'm doing this thing. Nobody should try me.
Now, historically, you know that I would, before you react, let me bring something to you. The struggle to come up with something like what President is bringing up now has started very long time ago. Like you stated before.
Yeah.
We had the issue of Ruga. You know the reactions that came from only Benue.
Well,
okay, he wants to say something.
Yeah, I'm not preempting your mind.
Yes.
But you know, from the question you asked and the reaction of Mr. Sam Agua, we have created Ministry of Niger Delta, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
To deal with issue of youth restiveness in the Niger
It's
Delta.
okay. I think you make your point as soon as we are back from the break.
Has the issue stopped?
Yes. Let's take a break very quickly. We'll get back to your point so that you can make it more elaborately. Well, it's the Daybreak Benue on Benue Television, and we will go on a break very quickly to return as we deepen our discussion on what we're talking about here in the house. Stay with us. Welcome back to the studios of Benue Television. It's the Daybreak Benue on Benue Television, and we're looking at what Mr. President has brought forth to Nigerians and taking a look at the bill proposing a ministry that is going to take care of livestock development and more. And so a committee has been set up with high technocrats saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that the issue of livestock comes to a place where we as a country will be admired by many. Barrister Joseph Bayo was in before the break trying to make a very strong point there, and you started by referencing the Niger Delta country.
When President Shehu Musa Yar'Adua, may so rest in peace, created the Ministry of Niger Delta, it solved the problem? Has the issue of youth restiveness in Niger Delta been overcome? Has the movement for the emancipation of Niger Delta, have they stopped their activities of bunkering and all of that? It hasn't solved the problem. Okay, the issue of a Northeast Development Commission, which is another area. Say, oh, the Northeast has been ravaged by conflict and all of that and all of that. There is need to develop it. Has the issue been solved? Niger Delta Development Commission, have they developed the entire Niger Delta region? So it is just like we keep duplicating.
This is a case of too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. We keep duplicating things, but this is very simple. Now, don't forget, there is no budgetary provision for the issue of Ministry of Livestock, so automatically we will have a supplementary budget to that effect, raising the income expenditure of governance in Nigeria. Good. Now, but if the president really want to deal with this issue, like I said, we have the fundamental objective and direct principles of state policies, which people don't like talking about because the non-justiciability of it. If the president decided, no, I am going to sit with the governors, and this issue of animal or livestock development, I will make it a priority by also prioritizing the issue of security. That is the paramount duty of the government. If people are not safe, already there is anticipation, there is anxiety, there is mixed reaction. Is it this to pacify some group of people? Because some group of people have come out to say, yes, we like what the president has done.
Excitedly.
They are excited about it. But if you prioritize security, if you deal with the issue of security alongside with all the governance, and you give a matching effect to that, you give a strong executive order to that, that yes, from this period to this period, we are dealing with serious food insecurity. I was in Abuja yesterday and I walked around 6 eateries and none of them opened. I was shocked. On the Sunday in the city of Abuja, I couldn't find food until I came back to Benue. That is the serious issue we are dealing with. Cross-food insecurity. And it's not about saying that we want to prioritize just livestock alone. Because if there is no crop farming, if there is no food, how can the animals even live? So prioritize security and let people know that yes, this is my boundary. That is what we need.
In addition, you see, this prioritization, because the cattle depends on the crop. Without the crop, there will be no cattle. Now we have a system in place, a structure. We have farmers, various communities. We should be thinking also, this committee should be thinking, now that it has come to be, or rather the ministry has come to be, it is better to also find a way to empower the crop farmers to add value to the livestock. Let them not go thinking government is going to now start having big farms of 100,000 hectares and taking lands and cropping because livestock, they want to improve livestock. We must use a structure on ground. There are farmers in all 36 states. There's a structure. We can farm the pasture. We can do that. So in their sitting, they should consider that, yes, while we are moving to ranching, we are happy to do that. The component of crop is needed, and the structure for the crop is already in place. Because I am foreseeing a situation where government will go and start acquiring 10,000 of hectares of land and buying and having COO and fencing and saying it is doing, when in actual fact the farmers on ground
I am still going back to that. I'm still going back to part of the questions I asked. You had only scratched it. I would want you to face it squarely.
Okay.
This barrister, let's talk about, let's call a spade a spade.
Oh, yeah.
When President Muhammadu Buhari was on the seat, several attempts were made to acquire land across the state for headers. There is one thing that we must do as Nigerians. When we call issues by their names, we have the solution to them. This was resisted vehemently by state governors. I recall the position of the then governor, Governor Samuel Otom, former governor of the state. He said there is no such availability of land in the state. And you recall that the president has said he has discovered that there is more than available lands across the states for grazing reserves. Till date, no one has been able to show us clearly where such lands were earmarked. Now, moving away from that, there was a proposal for Ruga settlements, which Nigerians resisted. Later, Polako came in. Nigerians resisted. Now we are talking about the bill, and of course a ministry that is going to look at the whole stuff that we are discussing here. The question is, don't you foresee a clash with the state governors? Because the constitution says they own the lands at their various states. The federal government cannot come and acquire land within the state for any other person except the governor endorses. I think, if I'm right, by the constitution. So don't you foresee a clash between the presidency and the governors at the end of the day?
And it goes back to what Mr. Sam Agua earlier said. What is the approach? What were the steps before this committee was constituted? Was there any inclusivity approach taken?
You have seen it yourself.
Inclusivity in terms of
getting the president said he has gotten the buy-in of the governors. Are the governors coming out to say that yes, they have our buy-in
and they have our representation is there?
So these are the issues. Then we have all Farmers Association of Nigeria across all the 36 states. Have they been included in the approach towards forming these committees?
No.
In terms of education, the Ministry of Education, civil society organizations, international or implementing partners, have they all been included?
So in essence, you're saying the president didn't consult widely before?
I have not said so.
That is what is on the table.
That's the implication.
Yes, the president has said that they have gotten the buy-in. It is for those people who bought in to have come out to say yes, the president had our buy-in. We were consulted. We have not read that. We have not seen that.
As a good as a good governance advocate, don't you think that this is a double speak? Because if you recall, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, the president did set up a committee to ensure that food is being imported into the country to reduce hunger in the country, which Barrister Bagyo himself has really given us an example. We know what's going on. So don't you think this contradicts his directive, or let me say his posture, that he doesn't want Nigerians to go to bed hungry? Because whether we like it or not, the state governors need to be brought on board with this policy.
I think the barrister wants to.
So I am now agreeing with you that this is going to create some form of conflicting policies between the state and the federal government. If that inclusivity approach towards that policy formation that has led to establishment of the Ministry of Livestock is not properly situated with the governors.
That's all right. Distinguished Sam, please quickly react to what
I'm getting old. So
okay.
You want to recap?
Briefly.
Barrister Bagyo, give an example. When he went to Abuja yesterday, and his
didn't see food.
Yes, he didn't see food. And then the president
didn't ask me to show him.
And then the president, let me just say, just two weeks ago, give a directive that the border should be open so that wheat, grains, and all of that will be imported in, which of course the farmers as well are not even finding that funny. So don't you think that this is a contradiction? Because at this point, food is now an emergency situation in the country and should be treated as such. So with this livestock bill and all of that coming on, don't you think that this is he's just like putting the cart before the horse and just pouring sand into what already is a bad situation?
I like answering yes and no to most questions. Okay. He is opening the borders as a first aid measure. They are trying to look at a 3 months window.
But that is not what
I'm coming. No. It's possible. They are in a position from food intelligence to know what we have, how far it will last us. Okay. We may not know. They can claim that. Yes. It's us that think there is food everywhere. Again, it could be, I don't want to sound that way, it could be that it's just the same game people are playing, but I don't think, I believe so much in the president. Now, what is happening is, allowing food is a temporary measure.
back to the studios of Benue Television. We're still here talking about the proposed bill, for livestock development on ranches in Nigeria. And we're also taking a look at the committee that has been set by the president to oversee this and ensure that we have what we need to have at the moment in Nigeria. Now we have our analysts in the house who are taking a look at the merits and demerits of the whole issue. Distinguished Sam, before the sudden break, you were trying to establish a point. I wouldn't want to take that.
Yeah, I will. I'm not old now. So I don't know to what extent, in the final analysis, the progress, what this bill will go and wherever it will end. Even though the bill itself, most of us also have issues with it. From the standpoint of the approach the commission will have in acquiring lands and that. So to cut the whole story short, I expect a situation where, to avoid conflict and to give an impression of togetherness, let there be the aesthetics of conviction. Let's see something that convinces us that it is fair, even if it is not. I'm keen. I'm back to the composition of the committee. I'm back to the fact that state inputs need to be sold. Yes, the governor, the president say he's in agreement with the governor, supposedly fine and good. I'm not sure he meant when he constituted this. I don't know whether the governor sat at their various 6 geopolitical zones and nominated people to serve in these things. This is you need the aesthetics that convinces people about what you're doing. A sudden rush to create, say, a ministry of football from the Ministry of Sports, because football is popular. Football is giving more money. There's plenty of money in soccer. People will begin to get keen on that. But in terms of food, trying to address food, the primary taproot of addressing food is from the crop first. Because without crop, you cannot build livestock. Crop is key. The grasses, the maize, the corn, the millet, the whatever thing you think about. So the livestock development process in Nigeria mustn't and shouldn't be seen as a standalone. It should be seen as what is. We bring in the crop component to drive it.
So in essence, you're suggesting that it should have been a commission instead of a ministry.
Actually, I opt for a
commission.
What you're saying? I opt for a commission because there are 2 issues on the table: ministry and commission.
Because if you say Ministry of Crop Management, Crop and Livestock Management, it still falls under agri.
I'm coming.
Yes.
I opt for commission. Not that commission is my first choice. My first choice is to strengthen the livestock department in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. Because livestock shouldn't even be seen as an Abuja thing. It should be seen as a 36 states matter, or the number of states that want to do it. It shouldn't even be seen as something you just sit down there and you are in grip of it. You set the committee, you set the national template, and you just begin to I don't want to use the word stampede people. They begin to just rushing people
it's all right.
to do it. So commission can stand if we pull through, but it would have been better than a ministry. But when you put the 2 together, I am against I will opt for strengthening the livestock.
Now,
under the Federal Ministry of Agriculture.
As we chip in, Barrister Gwayo, let's not lose sight of this. This is a very straight question. Do you think the president is truly aware of the myriad of problems that we have in this country? This, let me quote very clearly. the Senate, the chief whip of the Senate, that's Senator Alim Dumen, recently made a public statement fearlessly. He said he was not afraid of making the statement because he was making it from a sound point of experience, that the president seemed to have been shrouded by kakistocrats and kleptocrats. According to him, a few persons have formed a cabal around the president, and they are not allowing him to see through the mirror to know exactly the problems Nigerians are having. Do you also agree with that? And then vis-a-vis the issue of the proposed ministry now, do you think this is supposed to be what we are supposed what we'll be talking about?
I cannot agree with you less.
Okay.
Perhaps because of personal experience. So somebody who was out of government asked me one day, that barrister, where have you been, or where were you when we were in government? And I said I was around. I have always been around. So it's always like that when it comes to governance at that level. But you have your mind, and I've always said this, as a leader you have 3 loyalties, and I will not be shy saying this. You have 3 loyalties: 1 to your conscience, 2nd to your nation, and 3rdly to your political party. Now, as a politician, are you tilting your loyalty to your political party, or are you tilting it tilting your loyalty to the states or to favor your conscience? Now, if as a president you really want to understand the issues that are disturbing the nation, and you set up a committee that is not inclusive enough to include civil society organizations, to include implementing partners, or to include international non-governmental organizations,
even the headers,
include farmers associations, or include the headers,
yes,
include women group,
yes,
and include even a local group to advise you. You set up a high-powered, but if that being the case, it then means the president may not really be in full grasp of what is really happening. And just like,
do you think that is justifiable?
And just like
how will it be justified?
Just like Elder Sam Agua has said, this thing shouldn't be an Abuja thing. Devoid of sentiment, the president can invite the governors by region and sit with them to have their input as far as issues of farmer headers is concerned, because it is those who are wearing the shoe that are understanding how pinching it is to them.
The reason let me interrupt you a little bit. The reason I posed that question while you were making your submission, do you think that is justified? Because the president has continuously and consistently maintained that he is in touch with the problems and the pains of Nigerians. Let me use the popular expression that he did say, let the poor breathe. So if a high-ranking senator can make this kind of assertion publicly, it means that somewhere along the line the president has somewhere become either deaf, or somewhere is not just listening or even bothering to find out the pulse of Nigerians. Because like you did mention, giving that example that you went through in Abuja, unfortunately, United Nations has said Nigeria right now is the highest ranking country with about 38.1 million people living in severe hunger. So right now, whatever being the case, yes, we know there's a lot of bureaucracy at the top, but the reason I'm posing this is, do you think it's actually justifiable for the president to feign or claim ignorance? I doesn't know what is going through, because doesn't know what is going on, because this livestock bill is very sensitive. Now, the issue of land is definitely there, because the governors are the primary custodians of land according to the constitution, and the federal government is saying that don't worry, we are going to do what we can to ensure that this process is as peaceful as possible, even if it means we are going to buy land. But this is the same land these states need to survive. So don't you think that there is a contradiction?
We've said this thing over and over, that this ministry will create some form of confusion or conflicting policy implementation between the government at the federal level and at the state level. We can't shy away from that.
So what is the Minister of Agriculture doing? Because this is also
it has been unbundled. What is happening is the Ministry of Agriculture is now unbundled. We have carved out livestock. meaning that almost all the parastatals that connect that connects livestock or animals or something will now be moved to the new ministry. So the president has unbundled that. I don't, in his wisdom, maybe to decongest Ministry of Agri that it looks too fat, too big. Let's break
But is that really the case?
No, I'm
speaking?
just imagining because I don't know. You say he's in
Of course,
touch.
that
You
is
say
the
he
case.
said he's in touch with Nigeria and all, so we should believe him. Maybe that is what is happening. We are only wondering the essence of the unbundling. When after all, livestock is not, I repeat, an Abuja matter. Livestock is a community matter. So it means subnational level of participation. For instance, when he mentioned the issue of having meeting with governors at the zones, the zones could even come up with a template. Because one state doing livestock at this level we are looking at now, we affect the next step doing, so that they now come up with some bit of a coordinating mechanism that imputes into the ministry now that it has come to be. So head or tail, I just see an unbundling to mean that it's not very necessary. But now that it has been unbundled, I want a situation where I let all stakeholders, like he is saying, be part of this committee team.
Please quickly answer this question, Barrister Bayo.
Yeah.
Which issue do you think is more pressing in the country, Nigeria, at the moment?
Because
we have the issue of
the
negotiations.
most pressing issue in Nigeria now is the security of life and properties of Nigerians. That is the most pressing issue at the moment. When we can sleep with our two eyes closed, when we can go to farms and remain there without being unnecessarily disturbed as to what next, when we can actually go about our businesses in a very peaceful atmosphere, that is the only thing that will guarantee development. That is the only thing that will sustain this livestock industry we are talking about.
It's a secondary thing.
This is the only thing that will sustain crop production and deal with the issue of security, food insecurity.
Good.
But without the security of life and people, over a dozen people killed in Mango in Plateau, over 10,000 people killed from the period of 2011 till date, only in Benue, Agatu, Gwe West, Guma, and Makuda, and all the local governments are affected. That is the issue we should deal with, and that is the constitutional duty of government.
Which the social contract which you mentioned.
Yes,
that
is where the issue.
Are you hungry in this country or not?
I am part of the statistics he mentioned. I'm hungry.
So food
I am part of the
affordability
statistics you
versus
called.
food affordability versus food availability. What do you think the government should be focusing on?
No, both. There's an issue here. Populations have been decimated on account of crisis over the years. So certainly food is not also available. Good. So the affordability component is another thing. But if you want to prioritize,
and that is blame on insecurity.
Yes. Which this is the irony. Coming up with a livestock ministry in the face of this insecurity. Why didn't Tinubu go and unbundle ministries of security and break them and create them plenty? Because that is the issue. So people are wondering why I'm in the IDP camp.
Good.
And I'm hearing that there is a ministry of livestock.
Today, if you go, these are practical things.
Yeah.
Go to Anguhwa in Gwe West. Go to Ombagbu village in Gwe West. Go to Engri. Go as far as Teji and Agbragba, Nyo, all in Gwe West. These are the part of Maikondu, the rice cultivating part of
You didn't mention Agagbe.
Yes, part of Agagbe.
Yes.
People are beginning to return back to their ancestral home. Do you know why? Because they feel that the security of that place is guaranteed now. If you go there in Anguwa, in Ombagu, people are now farming rice. So when you deal with the issue of insecurity, by providing security, everything will fall in place.
Beautiful. Now, in summary, before we
so the president ought to have, instead of prioritizing livestock, he ought to have prioritized security.
Yes.
That is it.
Yeah. Very well. Now,
and creating Ministry of Livestock, it's not going to be the solution. It is only going to be scratching the
It's just another layer of bureaucracy.
Yes, it's all right. Now,
yes.
now
Certainly.
finally, before we exit this stage, let's talk about it. Do you think the very many advisors and the cabinet of the presidency, do you think they are advising him well enough to be able to brazenly tackle the issues we have in the country? Because if I tell you the number of advisors that the president has, recently he has appointed up to 3 of them. Now the question is, do you think they are telling Mr. President the full reality on ground? Because the president is in a cubicle of cabinet members, and most of the times he doesn't go out. Like you went to Abuja and you experienced hunger, and you are talking about. Do you think they are advising him correctly?
Correctly. Listen, no president, no governor, no chief executive is in any cubicle. None. If you have advisors, they should be advising you well.
So Senator Ali Ndume was right when he said,
what?
That the president...
No, naturally. Naturally, if you are angry with the situation, for instance, I'm in the IDP camp. Yes. What do you want me to say? The advisors are not advising President Buhari well, Tinubu well, in terms of how I should get back to my ancestral home. Yeah. I will blame it on the advisors. No governor, no president is in any cubicle anywhere. He has advisors that are advising him. He bears the brunt. Anything good, anything bad, it's him.
If the president fails, it's not going to be the advisor that the failure will be recorded against.
Okay. It's all right. Well, I want to thank you very much, gentlemen, but this is how we intend to end it. We'd like to say that as much as we have been able to say this, constructive criticism is the way forward. Remember, Mr. President is making effort in some areas to be very candid, to see that problems are addressed. The question is how sincere he is being with this is what Nigerians are questioning. And so we expect Mr. President to sit up and do the needful, to put a smile on the faces of Nigerians. At the moment, we need food, we need security of lives and property. Let the social contract signed between him and the people of Nigeria be taken care of first of all, and then we shall take a look at other problems. I must say thank you very much, immediate past Secretary NBA Makurdi Branch, talking about Barrister Joseph Bajo. I want to thank you very much for being a part of the program here. Yes, we also like to say very many thanks to good governance advocate and of course public affairs analyst. We want to congratulate you very formally and warmly on your new appointment with the state government.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
And like my sister said, he wants affordability and availability of food.
Yes.
I will do my best in the little assignment to ensure that there is affordability and availability of food.
So College of Agric has gotten a rare gem, and we hope that there is going to be transformation there. I want to say thank you and congratulations once again. This is where we have to say goodbye to all of us. Remember that Benue Television News is coming up at 9, so please join us. My name is Japhet Waho.
Thank you for staying with us on Daybreak here on Monday. Please stay tuned for the rest of the programs on the show and have a pleasant day. My name is Maureen Hill.